daunting sitting as the facilitator for this group today. But Jill and I talked earlier in the week, and we both agreed that this group can fly on its own, whether there's nobody at the front end of it or not. And it also made me think about something that Thich Nhat Hanh said, that he believes the next great teacher is going to be a sangha, or a community, rather than one person. Because that's what's needed in the world right now. We need to learn how to live in community and how to support one another. And I would say this group is well on its way to being a very supportive community for one another. So today, what I want to share with you is a practice that has become very important to me in my personal and spiritual development. It has a few different names. It was originally introduced to the world by Eugene Gendlin, and it was just simply called focusing. But since then, other people have expanded on his views and his teaching. And so now it's called inner awareness practice. Some people call it somatic focusing. But really what it is, and those of you who have been in some of my study groups are familiar with this practice, because I try to have us practice it in every one of my study group sessions, because I think it's really important. But basically what it is acknowledging that we have wisdom in our bodies. All of our wisdom isn't just stored up here in our thinking mind. We have, and you all know this, you've had instances where your intuition has been a guide to you, or somehow, this message has come to you from somewhere else other than your mind. And so this is kind of a lost practice, I think. And yet in the world that we live in today, I think it is slowly being resurrected and recognized that it would be useful to learn how to tap into that wisdom that resides in our bodies. And Miriam Greenspan actually even, I shouldn't say actually, she acknowledges this in her book. She talks about working with your body and working with your emotions. And she tells a story that starts on page 23 about a woman that she was working with who was trying to prepare for her daughter's wedding and just couldn't get herself to do it. And so she guided her to work with her body and her emotions to get to the bottom of what was causing her to have this block. And so, you can read about this practice lots of different places. In all of my Enneagram trainings that I've done over the last 6 or 7 years, this is one of the fundamental or foundational practices that we are taught to practice with. So I want to share it with you today. I think I already said, if you've been in my study groups, you already know what this practice is. But here's the thing. I mean, I hate to kind of admit this to you, but because you can do this practice by yourself, or you can do it with other people. So like I have 3 people that I partner up with. I try to do this once a week where I partner up with somebody else and we spend an hour and a half together and, we chit chat, but we also, we facilitate each other in this somatic awareness practice. And even though you can do it by yourself, I find that I don't hardly ever do it by myself. And part of it's because I know I have partners to do it with once a week. But I think the other thing is, you know, our ego, our personality resists this kind of work because, you know, we're trying to go underneath the personality and have a real dialogue with our true nature. So it's a little confronting to the ego. However, I don't want that to stop you from considering practicing this on your own or finding a partner that you can practice this with. So I guess maybe there's just a couple other things I want to say before we actually practice this. One is that some people find it easy to bring their awareness from their mind down into their body and to observe and notice what's happening in their body, and other people don't. And I think, like anything else, this is a skill that gets easier as you practice it more. So what I'm trying to do here today is just to create space for whatever happens is fine. If you don't feel anything, don't make anything up about it. You know, if it's the first time you've done it, you may not feel anything. But if you do, that's fine too. But just look at it as, you know, an introduction to the structure of this inner awareness practice. Let me see if there's anything else I wrote down here that I wanted to just... Oh, I think the other thing that I wanted to mention is that, you know, we've never really been taught to do this kind of work, to pay attention to what our bodies are trying to tell us. After doing this work for a long time, what I've come to notice is that, or how I think about it, is that our bodies are signaling us all the time through our emotions and through these physical sensations, chronic pain, you know, anything like that. They're trying to get our attention because they have something, some wisdom that they would like to share. Often we're too busy, or, you know, it's too uncomfortable to acknowledge what's happening in our bodies. And even if we do decide or choose to acknowledge what's happening, we don't really know how to process it, how to metabolize it. And so what I'm going to share with you today is just a quick, well, not quick, but it's a process, it's a structure for how you can work skillfully with your emotions and your these physical sensations that you experience in your body. So I'm going to share, hopefully. Yeah. Can you see this on my screen? Okay, let me just make that bigger. Okay.
Yes.
So you've got to choose something that you want to practice with, something specific. And so I'm giving you four choices just to kind of trigger your thinking here. You could ask yourself the question, what are all the things keeping me from feeling absolutely wonderful today? And either in your mind or on a piece of paper, you could just kind of tick through, what are the 3 or 4 or 5 things that are keeping me from feeling absolutely wonderful? Then select one of those to practice with for now, and then simply set the other ones aside. Or you could work with an area of your life where you're experiencing some grief or loss. It could be a past loss, it could be a present loss, or it could be what I've learned to call ambiguous loss. I learned this from Pauline Boss in a book she wrote called Ambiguous Loss. And we probably all have ambiguous losses, but just a couple would be like someone close to you who's suffering dementia or Alzheimer's. I even put my son with autism in this category, somebody who's there, but not completely there like they used to be or how you would like them to be. People who have been kidnapped or are somehow missing in your life. Prisoners of war fit into this. Just people that you've lost connection with. Or you could work with a challenge or upset from this week. It could be something very small, or it could be something big. You know, we get triggered many times every day, and a lot of it's just small stuff. But any of that's fair game to work with. And lastly, if you're feeling absolutely wonderful today, you could work with that, because that's also a very legitimate way to use this focusing practice. And I think we could make an argument that, especially in the world that we live in today, we need to tap into those moments where we feel wonderful and just let ourselves see how that feels too for a period of a few minutes. Okay, so now really this is just kind of a 3-step process. You choose what you're going to work with, and you say, how does this situation or this emotion feel in my body? And you just let your body feel what it feels, and you say hello to it and attend to it. And after a period of a few minutes, if it feels right, you can ask it what it wants to tell you, if it has something that it wants you to know. So now I'm going to go down to the next page, which is a more full-blown explanation of this process. But I'm not going to read through it, because you can read through it on your own and just take your time going through the steps. And we're going to take about 10 minutes or so. And then we're going to go into our meditation for today. Just take your time. Don't try to get to the end unless it naturally happens, because the more important thing is just to spend time just observing and noticing what's happening in your body. So, and if for some reason working with this kind of a practice doesn't feel right for you today, you can just get a jump start on our meditation, because we're going to be quiet for the next 10 minutes and just let people work their way through this process in their own time. So that's all I want to say. Bon voyage.